How's everybody doing? When you get started, I want to let you know the meeting is being recorded. The last recording I delayed on putting up just because we had Rose's property that we looked over. The name of the property was in there. We've since then talked about it, and I'm going to be able to post that tonight, okay? I'll be looking at a couple properties tonight. I'm going to remove the name at the top of the property, just for this, for the person that's giving it to me. We'll share it with the group, and we'll all learn from that experience. Before we get started, I want to let you know that Tarek couldn't join us tonight. He was ill, and he will be joining us next week. I also have my contract lawyer, my corporate lawyer, is going to be on with us next week, so we're going to get a bonus. Both of them will be on. There will be a full session next week, okay? So that's going to start at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, okay? So let's start with questions. Does anybody have any questions or anything they want to ask before we get started? I have a few questions that were sent to me I'm going to share, but before we get started. Okay. Anybody? Is everybody getting into their momentum? Going to start that soon. New momentum class, I think, is coming up. Good. You cry every time you use the file? We'll go over the file again. February, okay. December 5th, good. Good, good, good. Online, good, good. All right. Good. Yes. Question. Okay, Matthew, you haven't received a call from Baz or Jerry? Is that right? Marianne did. Okay. Okay, then you should be okay. Is everybody okay? So we have everybody getting into that momentum, that first class. No, I'm not on mute. Can you hear me? Okay. Give me a sec. Here. Yeah, reload the page. Thanks, guys. Good. Good, good, good. Good, good, good. All right, so the other thing that you can do is get your on-demand set up. Stacy, is that April 5th, the 6th to the 7th, to the 8th? Sorry, is that a live course? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, you can, John. You can take it twice. You're allowed to refresh your courses twice in the 12-month period. Yeah, okay, so if you want to register for that course live, Stacy, reach out to Jerry, and he'll be able to help you out with that. If anybody has any challenges reaching out, Jerry Coffer, yep, Coffer, sorry, yep. Yeah, he'll be able to help you out with that. If anybody has any issues or challenges, he's really good too. He's really on top of things, so if anything comes up, let me know. Okay? Okay. All right. Any questions? Anything else going on? We good? Okay, so a couple things I want to talk to you tonight is a couple questions I had about wholesale. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that up. Okay, and this is from John. Okay, so what makes a property an opportunity? Any specific ways to scan listings? Okay, so with wholesale's obviously we're looking for an opportunity in a deal, and typically those properties are not put on MLS. Can anybody tell me why they're not put on MLS? So why are we not going to find those properties on MLS? Yeah, we don't want the retail price. Deal's already gone. Not necessarily. It's more about if a property is on MLS, it's set up to be sold as retail. And you know, the big thing to remember is there isn't a problem, right? You know, if a property is on MLS, it's in a retail state. What does that mean? It's in a retail state. Well, typically what you're going to find with a property on MLS is the property's in great condition. It's got no serious problems for sure. It's more than that. It's probably, you know, been repaired, minor repairs, fixed up to a retail level. Typically, we're not going to see anything distressed or something that's not completely fixed up. Can anybody tell me why on MLS? Why would they not post a property, or a realtor would not necessarily want to post a property like that on MLS? Yeah, they don't want to mess around with those properties because they become really difficult to sell. And the reason they become difficult to sell is when people look on MLS, end users, most people purchase from MLS. Most people buy property in particular are looking for a property to live in. So looking for a home. And homes are difficult to sell if they have problems with them. So we're not typically going to find those types of properties on MLS because it would be very difficult for the realtor to try to convince somebody it's a good idea to purchase a property that's not in a retail state, in a good condition. So if we're looking for wholesale properties, we can look for Kijiji. We can also look for sale by owner. You might find some opportunity in for sale by owner. That's totally possible. Typically, for sale by owner properties do not sell for retail. They sell lower than retail properties, so you do get value out of selling a property with a realtor. I prefer to sell properties with realtors instead of trying to sell it, you know, trying to do the sale myself. That's something that I'm not an expert in the sale of it. I let retailers take care of it. That's your power team. So you want to be able to let your team do the heavy lifting for you. And for me, selling is a heavy lifting and retailing a property. So we want to look for opportunities like that. Also, we can use a strategy called drive-by, which is literally, you know, driving around looking for properties in, you know, not a perfect state. I showed you some of those over the weekend when we got trained, and we leave a postcard, right? Or you might even see a property actually for sale. That's just a sign for sale by owner, but it's not the for sale by owner product, right? You can also do that. What we do with those, what you'd be doing is leaving what we call a postcard. It's just you know, literally the size of a postcard that says, "I'm interested in your property. Please give me a call." Okay. Now there's distressed properties all over, right? We all know that there's distressed properties all over the place, and you know, that's something the drive-bys will pick up and find. They're not typically going to be listed on MLS. I would say the online, the free stuff, the Kijijis of the world. Also, you can post an ad. Does anybody remember us posting an ad? Remember we talked about this? Posting an ad. Everybody can post an ad. Yeah, just post an ad. So we talked about a couple different ads, but this particular ad, just, you know, we buy houses as is. You know, we buy houses for cash. We buy houses now. Something like this is a way you can attract those kind of properties. Okay. So a couple different ways you can attract those properties. Obviously, we can do the call when we're calling somebody up and we're saying, hey, I'm not calling to rent the house, I'm calling to buy it. Are you interested in selling it? Yes or no? Does everybody remember that strategy? Yeah, so it's not tough. You just call them up, you ask them about the details, and the reason that we feel there's an opportunity there. Can anybody tell me what we think we see there? Why is that an opportunity for us, possibly? Potential, but why? You can tell me. The last thing they said, sale. The last thing they sell, ID the house. Tired landlord, good. Possibly tired landlord. Maybe the owner wasn't thinking of selling. You're giving him an idea. Yep. Expense for the owner. They may sell the house. Yeah. Okay. So everything you said there is correct. The big thing is, right, we're looking for problems. If somebody's renting a house, is there a problem? Well, yes, they're losing revenue. Someone mentioned that. So we don't know if they're a tired landlord. We don't know that for sure. But a tired landlord, might be someone who's trying to rent it out and has had challenges with tenants. And of course, we want to remember that we are looking for problems. We don't really get paid unless there's a problem. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so that's going to be the opportunity for us. Okay. Okay, let's look at the next question. What actually makes a house more interesting than others, so I can actually make the call? Okay, so I think with that one you're gonna be looking at distressed properties. That's what makes it opportunity. I think that you want to be able to again approach a situation by solving a problem. So any property that's creating a problem for someone, and it could be financial. Remember the two things. What are the two things that we're looking for that creates a distressed seller? You can tell me. You can tell me. Stacy, yeah, do you remember the properties I showed you? I can show you those properties again, but they're basically properties where you might be challenged to rent it out. That's a distressed property. Can anybody tell me? Can anybody tell me? Tell me what the two things are, the motivators. Remember the two things? Yes. Ran out of money, ran out of time. Excellent. Excellent. So I think that's what we're really looking for in identifying with an individual. So when we see a property that's not being used, is that a problem? Well, possibly, because they're still paying the taxes on it. There's still a cost that has to be taken on by owning the property. So we want to be able to see if they're in a situation where that has created such a stress for them, or they're at a point where they want to release the property. Okay, so that would be a good identifier for a possibility or an opportunity. Okay, we're not looking for retail properties, right? And I want to remind everybody, the big thing is, and I know we want to get a property as quickly as possible, but the big thing is not to make a mistake, right? And we don't want to make a mistake by paying retail. We want to make a mistake by getting a property that's not cash flowing for us, and that's a huge advantage, right? By making sure that it's not costing us to own the property. If the house is owned by the bank, so those are called REOs, real estate owned properties, and really Canada, there's not much in the way of an opportunity. So I think that once a property is taken on by a bank, we have the challenge, and I think I showed you that, of the cost of the bank taking possession of that property. So typically, and there's the laws, the law of the land in Canada is basically the property has to be sold at retail. In the U.S., it's a completely different story, and that reminds me, if you are interested in taking a class in the U.S. As your refresher, you're allowed to do that. Okay, you can take a refresher in the U.S. just to remind everybody. You can go to one of the symposiums and take one of your classes there, and absolutely, I would take advantage of that. Of course, that would be a business trip. Keep all receipts. Okay, so I think that when we're looking at foreclosures or short sales, that's more of a U.S. strategy. Pre-foreclosure would be the way to go. There might be one coming up in Vegas if you're interested in that, Kyle. Yeah, I have to look into that. If you go onto a site and check their Rich Dad Education, or Legacy Education is a better one, Legacy Education, they'll tell you when the symposiums are. And I would take advantage of it. And you can network in the U.S. So I think that when we're looking at those types of properties, we can talk about foreclosures on another call. We're looking for something a little bit different and attracting of that. Okay, and I want to remind everybody. I think I mentioned it. If I didn't, my apologies. But I want to remind everybody to take advantage of the on-demand. Okay, so when you know you want to take a course, jump on the on-demand, review the on-demand, take your time with it. I wouldn't watch more than 2 hours at a time. It's kind of a lot of information to take on. So I would definitely, if you know you're going to take the course, get the on-demand. It'll be automatically unlocked when you commit to that class, and you'll be able to review it. Okay, take your time when you do that, of course. So going back to finding those properties, what makes it an opportunity? Again, we're looking for properties that are a problem. The other one we can do is reach out to property managers, and you can let a property manager know that you're interviewing property managers in the area for properties that you and your team are going to acquire. Just want to talk to them a little bit of how they work and how their system works, and you can also mention them that you're interested in properties. If they know anybody that's looking to sell, there might be an opportunity for you to help out there and take that problem off their hands. Okay, so that's another way to possibly find those types of properties. We're looking for motivation, absolutely, and we want that kind of motivation where we can create an opportunity. Okay, as the numbers go, we just need to do every house. I would say that there's not really, once you get used to the Excel sheet, the evaluator, the cash flow evaluator, it's not very tough to do that. I'd throw the numbers in on every property, especially in a property that you're looking at for real to take on. So yes, I would run the numbers on the property and ensure that the property is profitable. Now the good news is you don't need to get a 10 cap rate for a wholesale. If you're in the 5-6 range, it's a possible wholesale deal, right? Now that would depend on the normal cap rate of your area. Does everybody understand when I say cap rate what that means? Does anybody not know what cap rate is? Okay, so cap rate is basically the yield or the return on investment of the value of the property. So when we're looking at, let me see if I can do this here. 1 second. Move my computer closer to me. So let's go. Let's create a whiteboard. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Whiteboard. Okay. So let's go through that. This won't take long. It's pretty important to do. So let's talk about cap rate for a second. So cap rate really is cap rate, okay, is the value, and I'm going to put two things here. So value or purchase price. Okay, let's assume those are the same things. Same things in this case. Okay, just for simplicity. Okay. GRM is gross rent multiplier. That's different. I can talk about that first. Okay, after this. Sorry. So cap rate this is how it works. So cap rate says if a property is worth, or purchase price is 100K, right, and the net operating income is 10K, okay, then our cap rate would be what? 10. Does everybody see that? Okay, so let's talk about this. There's a lot of information here, right? There's a lot we're saying here. So first of all, the one thing I want you to notice is there's no financing involved in this calculation. Okay? Everybody see? There's no financing. This is simply how much is the value of the property, how much are my bills, how much do I have left over? That's net operating income, right? Total expenses minus gross income. That gives our net operating income. Does everybody understand that? Right? Net operating income is just simply, your expenses versus your income, and whatever's left over is your net operating income. So in this case, our net operating income is 10K. Okay? So what it is it's trying to identify the return on investment if I paid cash for the property. Okay? So the return on investment in this case at 10K is a 10% return. Okay? If I purchased the whole property, paid cash, it would produce 10K. I'd make a 10 cap rate. Now the reason we use cap rate instead of, say, return on investment is because with property, typically we're not paying off the property or paying cash for a property. And that's important to keep in mind. Okay, so we're not trying to pay off the property completely. The cap rate represents if we did pay cash. And in real estate, that's not something that's often done. Okay, so that's where that number comes out. Does everybody understand that? Does anybody have any questions? If you do, that's okay. You should ask if you have questions. This is the place to learn. You good? I'm sure somebody has a question. It's okay if you do. Please, if you have a question, I'm sure others do too. Well, with Guy, great question. For a wholesale, you don't need a 10 cap rate. I'll explain why. Okay? I talked about this before. We'll talk about it again. Okay. Most of Canada. Okay. So let me do this before I go into this because I'm going deeper now. Okay, so I'm going to answer that question, Stacy, in a second, okay? So I want to know that everybody understands cap rate because I'm going deeper into cap rate. Is everybody good with cap rate? Because if you're not, I want to explain it because I'm going to go deeper into the rabbit hole, so to speak. Yeah, it's basically net operating income, and this is net operating income is important. Net operating income is remember total expenses minus gross income, right? Because the income you receive from rent is not all yours, right? We have to pay bills, taxes, maintenance, insurance, principal, interest, vacancy. All those expenses have to be taken out. Whatever's left over. So if we go, just give me 1 second. So if we go, the net operating income is 10K. I divide 10K by value, which is 100K. This equals 10 or 10%. Okay, that's basically telling me the return on investment is 10% on this property if paid in cash. Okay, the reason we wanted 10 in this case So the reason we want a 10 cap rate or 10% return on this 100K, okay, is because a 10 cap is important to us today because when we do creative financing, right, we can actually go as high as about 7% net and still make 3% for us net cash flow. Does everybody understand that? So when you have a 10 cap rate, we need that 10 cap rate in this current condition, because a 10 cap rate, if you put in creative financing to finance the property, that's going to eat up about 7% of your income. So if we were making 10K, we're willing to give up net operating income. We're willing to give up 7% of that. 7% of that, okay, in financing, okay? Now is that possible? Well, when properties right now, if you mortgage a property, you're looking at 3% plus, say, some creative financing. So 3% and say even 10%. Okay. Now, the way this works, so you're financing. So let's say we had 80,000, 80K at, that's my at symbol, 3%. What would that equal? What would that equal for? What would that cost us a year in interest? What would that cost us a year? 1,600. So 3%, 3% interest on 80K. 3% interest on 80K. What is that? You can tell me. What's 3% interest on 80K? Yes, 24K. So it's close. 24K. Okay? Okay, has everybody got that? 24K. Okay. Now, 1 second. Let's get another whiteboard. Now, let's do this. Share whiteboard. Okay. So now, we're going to take this over to here. Now, I'm not including principal here, but I want to make an example, okay, of this. So if 80K at, that's my at symbol, 3% equals 2,400. That leaves 20K at 10%, say creative financing, would equal how much? How much would 10% of 20K a year in interest? Who can tell me? Exactly, $2,000. So what you do is you add these, which would be 4,400, and that would give you the effective interest you're paying on the full 100K. Okay, that would be how much we're paying. Which, how much interest is that per year? If you're paying 4,400 on 100K, you're paying 4.4%. Does everybody see that? Is everybody with me? If anybody's lost right now, let me know. It's okay if you are. Yeah, because 4,400, right? 4,400 is 4.4% of 100K. That's where I got the 4.4. Okay? Do you see that? Okay. So the reason I'm showing you this is so you understand, okay? Now 4.4 is just the interest, not principal, not principal. But if I just used interest, if I was only paying interest only, if I had a cap rate of 10 cap, and I was paying 4%, 4.4% in interest, okay, in interest, what would that leave for me? What would that leave for me? You got it. 5.6% would be my money. Everybody see that? Which is $5,600. Does everybody see that? All right. Who's learning something? You learning? Nope. Okay. What is it? What is it, John? It's okay. Ask the question. So what you're trying to do, I'll go through it again. What you're trying to do is you're trying to establish your effective interest rate on the loan that you got. If you have 80,000 by 3.1, okay? 1 second. If you have 80,000, if you have 80,000 by 3.1, that's going to cost you 2,400. If you have 20,000 by 10%, that's going to cost you 2,000, right? Now, if you add those, we get 4,400, right? Now, that's the interest we're paying per year. If we made a $100,000 loan, 80 and 20, $100,000 loan, okay? 80K and 20K is all financed. That would be 100,000. If we're paying 4,400, on 100,000, the effective interest rate is 4.1%. Does everybody understand that? Does that make sense? Okay. John, you got that? Does that work for you? Good. John, does that make sense? How do I get 5.6? Excellent question. Must be gone. No, they're there. They're there. Okay, Sean, I'm going to continue. Let me know if that's not clear. That's not a problem. So 5.6 is the actual cap rate. Exactly. Because if I take, let me go back to this. If I take the 10 cap rate minus the 4.4 interest, that leaves me, it's not really a net cap rate anymore because now it's what's left over. But 5.6% is what's left over. That ends up being $5,600 because this is a $100,000 property. But can everybody see at this point why it's important to have that 10 cap rate? Now let's say that the cap rate was 6. If the cap rate was 6 and your financing ate up 5.6% of that, or 5.6 of it, you'd only have 0.4% left over for you, right? That's all you'd have left over. That's too thin, okay? No, it's not always 3, but I went up to 10 with the last 20, right? And you're absolutely right, Stacey. That could be higher, right? But this is why we want to leave the room, right? 4.4 is not the whole amount, right? We have room in there to be able to take on that creative finance. And you got to remember, folks, I haven't added, principal. That's just interest, all right? So principal could take up another couple points on that, and obviously, when you're financing, the interest makes up most of the payment. So that could add another 2 even if it added 2.6, that would get us to 7. Okay? That would get us to 7. Okay? So is everybody with me? If you're not, it's okay.
I'm good to go. I can slow this down. This is pretty deep stuff we're going into. But I want you to understand why we do what we do, right? Why do we do it? You know, because it's the why that's really going to drive your business. That's what's going to make it important. Okay. Okay. So I see that Jean and Carolina, you're still there. Can you just give me a yes that you're good? If you're not, I'm okay. I can answer the question. If you want to do it offline, we can do it offline. You good? Excellent. Okay. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a little bit deeper. Okay. And I don't want to go too deep with this right now for you, but this is that you're learning something. I'm sure this is very cool stuff and understanding the metrics of being successful in property, right? Understanding those metrics, and you can understand why we use the numbers we use. So the other thing I want to show you is this. So everybody understands why we need a 10, right? We need a 10. The one thing I want to say about it is because of the current lending rates that we're under. Does everybody understand when I say that? What I mean by that? Okay. Okay. So let me tell you a little story. Okay. In 1982, in the 80s period, interest rates were in double digits. Okay. Does anybody remember that? Does anybody remember double-digit interest rates? Okay. So if your interest rate is 15, is your mortgage rate. If your interest rate is 15%, what is going to be, that's from a bank, what do you think hard money is going to be at? Yeah, they're going to be 20 to 30%. Okay? 20 to 30%. Yes. And this is what's funny. All those rates match up. They really do. So if mortgage rates are 15, you're going to get hard money at 20 to 30. What do you think GICs are paying in this kind of environment? GICs. What's a GIC going to pay? This is the mortgage rate. So GICs, yeah, they could be anywhere from 8 to 12. We can look up historically, but it's not going to be quite 15 because they're going to make the spread on that, right? So GICs are going to be 8 to 12, right? What do you think credit cards were in this period? Does anybody remember? Does anybody remember this? Well, they weren't quite that. They were 24 to 30. I think they went up as high as 32, but let's call it 30. 24 to 30 was a credit card. Yeah. That's pretty standard. But the reason is, all this was driven by what? What was this driven by? Life, yeah. Economy, yeah. This is all driven by inflation. All of it. Inflation. So when inflation goes up, all of these go up. When inflation goes down, those numbers can go down. The reason is when the bank lends you money at 15%, if inflation is higher than 15%, right, they can still make money, but they're not going to make what they would want to make in an environment where the rates were high. If inflation was, same for the credit card companies, right? Credit card companies are not going to offer you, 20 to 30%, interest if inflation is 25%. Okay? So inflation is important because it moves all these numbers. Does everybody remember what inflation is? Inflation is what is the buying power of your dollar? A single dollar. If we look at a single dollar, the Canadian dollar, how much has the Canadian dollar lost, say, in the last 100 years? Well, it's around 94 cents. It's worth about 6 cents in buying power than it was 100 years ago. So every year, an average in Canada, it's about 3% inflation rate. So every year, our dollar loses some buying power, loses roughly 3%, which is the same thing as saying that prices go up 3%. but nobody's really making any more money. It's just the cost to purchase it is going to cost you a little bit more. Well, when it goes to zero, when your interest rates go to zero, that's not a good thing at all. That's a bad thing. Okay? Now, Kyle, that might be another conversation for another time. Kyle, just to answer your question, when it goes to zero, we're dealing with deflation, which is much worse, in my opinion, than inflation. Deflation, yeah, exactly, Japan, you got it. You got it. That's when people's spending habits change and they stop buying things. So prices go down because people aren't spending money anymore. That's not good. So you want a little bit of inflation in your economy, not hyperinflation like in South America. Some countries that are experiencing that. One in particular that's experiencing it now. Well, a few of them, Brazil and Venezuela is having challenges. There's some challenges in South America with inflation that can really, really hurt a country. But in Canada, our inflation rate, the goal is actually to have around a 2% inflation rate. I believe is the goal, current goal. 2 to 3% is sustainable. So you want a little bit of inflation, which really shows you that your economy is expanding. So it's not bad to have inflation. Inflation is not bad. Too much inflation is bad, and too little inflation would be really bad. Okay, so the reason I bring this up, all of this, was going back to our original conversation of cap rate. So the reason is, in this current condition, our cap rates are 10. But what if, imagine, we were trying to buy a property in the 80s, okay? Okay, if you're buying property in the 80s and your interest rates are 15, can your cap rate be 10? Is it realistic for your cap rate to be 10? No, of course not, because if our cap rate was 10, we had a 10 cap rate, right, we'd be losing money, right? Because to borrow the money from a bank is 50%. Right? So let me show you the example again. So everybody stay with me. Is anybody lost right now? Is anybody lost? We good? Kinda? Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. This is pretty deep into the rabbit hole. Okay? But it's good to understand. It really is good to understand the why the cap rate is there. So let me run like the similar example that I ran with the cap rate at 10. Let's run it with, and the interest rates were 3. Let's run the same example. So if I did 80K at the bank rate of 15%, what would I be paying a year? Does anybody know? What would I pay a year? Yeah, 12K. Does everybody know how we got 12K? Does everybody know? Everybody knows, right? You can just multiply 80. Yeah. Multiply 80,000 by 15%. It'll give you in your calculator. Tell you 12K. That's 12K is 15% of 80,000. So that's what you'd be paying in interest. Now, the last 20K would be creative financing. Let's say you were 25%. Okay. What would you be paying per year? 20K at 25% would be exactly 5K. Now when you add these, you got 17K, okay? Which tells you your 100K, to finance 100K, it's costing you 17K, which is the same thing as saying what? 17%, right? Has everybody got that? Yeah, exactly, 17%. Now, does everybody remember what cap rate we walked in with? We walked in with a 10 cap rate. Okay? We'll see, 10 cap rate. So if I do 10 cap rate minus the financing of 17, let me just reverse that for a second. If I did, one sec. So if I did 10 cap rate, that's 10C cap rate, minus the 17, yeah, we'd be losing 7%. Does everybody see that? Because your borrowing would wipe out any money you made on the property. It would just totally wipe it right out. Okay. Now, were people investing in the 80s? Were they investing in the 80s? Well, sure they were. They were making money in the 80s. Sure they were. But you couldn't run a 10 cap rate. You'd have to run what? What would you have to run it as a cap rate? Give me some numbers. Yeah, 20, 25. Yeah, exactly. Because you got to cover your financing, right? Nobody's paying cash for these houses. You definitely don't want to pay cash because that really hurts the return on investment. But yeah, your cap rates would have to be, I'd say, if that's 17, I'd be in the 20 to 25 range. Okay? And then I could make some money. Everybody understand that? Good. Now I promise you I'll come back to cap rate, but I feel like this is as deep as I want to go with it right now. Okay? Okay, but we can go deeper. Well, you know what? I might go one step deeper. Because I want to show you no, maybe we should wait. Let's wait. Okay? We have about 15 minutes left. I want to show you a property that someone sent me, and we'll come back to cap rate. Okay? We good? Okay, but one thing I will say, I will explain real quick is GRM, okay? So gross rent multiplier. So let's go like this. Let's do a share. Okay, add a share. Okay. Remember, this is going to be recorded. So when the time comes, I will put both those up tonight. Should be able to see them tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe. That'll make it easy for you to know when it's up. And you can go over this stuff again, okay? Okay. Let's talk about GRM real quick. So, GRM, which stands for gross rent multiplier. Okay? Gross rent multiplier. So it's exactly what it says. If you bring in $1,000 a month for your property, gross rent, no expenses. This is why gross rent multiplier can't be used as your final number because it doesn't include all your expenses. But it includes the gross rent. So if your rent is $1,000, we multiply that by 12 to give us $12,000. Okay? Oops. Yeah, $12,000. Okay? Everybody with me? So that's the gross rent part. Now, what we want to do is we want to look at the value of the property. So if the value or the purchase price, we're going to be the same thing for today's purposes. If value is 100K, then what we do is we divide 100K by 12K. And that gives us what? So if we take 100K divided by 12, it's going to give us, what's it going to give us? Excellent. 8.3. Okay? Now, is that a good GRM? It's not bad, actually. We look for a little bit lower, but that's not terrible. That's not terrible. And I know in our sheet it says 6, but 8's not terrible. Okay? So a couple quick rules I can give you, just rules of thumb. That, we still got to run the numbers. But if you can get 1% in rent per month, so 1%, 1,000 is 1% of 100K. Okay, that's looking good. That's looking good. Okay, so gross rent multiplier is gross rents divided by the value divided by the gross rents. What that does for you, it gives you a quick calculation to see if a property is even worth looking at. Because if the gross rent multiplier, so do we want a lower gross rent multiplier or higher? What's better, lower or higher? Yeah, we want it lower. We want the rent to be higher. If the rent's higher, then it's going to be a lower number. So if you see a gross rent multiplier of 15 from a property, so the property, instead of making 9, it makes, let's do this, instead of it making, okay, that's the color I want. Okay, so instead this was 900, all right, and this was, so 900 times 12 is what? 900 times 12 is 98, no, sorry, 108. Okay, this is terrible. This isn't gonna work. So if the number was, thanks, John. If the number was lower, then the gross rent multiplier would be higher, which means the gross rents, it takes you several months to recover the investment. So in this case, we want the GRM to be lower. Okay, so 1% of the value of the property. Yeah, it's 1% of the value of the property. So 1%, yeah, but I think they're saying the same thing. So if your revenue, monthly revenue, makes up 1% of the value of the property, you probably got a good property on your hands. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Does that make sense? Yeah. Yes. It's just these are quick calculations for you. GRM means at the end of that, it will take you X years to pay off the loan. Yeah, actually it does. I mean, it's you can look at it that way, absolutely. Same with cap rate. Cap rate works the same way. How many years will it take you to pay off the property? So your gross rents obviously don't include what? Your gross rents don't include expenses, right? What values are good? So if you're running, I'd say 10 or higher, you're probably slipping away from a good deal. If you're running 8 or lower, 9's kind of on the bracket, so is 10. But 9, because the reason is if the gross rent on a property, so look at it, right? If the gross rent on a property is, let's look at this. So most properties, if it's in a healthy state, what you're looking for, and it's not every time, but think about this, okay? If your property, let's go back to black. So if your property brings in $1,000 per month, how much of that can we give up in expenses? We'd like it to be, 50-50. Typically it doesn't lie like that. It's a little bit higher on the thing. But that means that I have to give up $500 a month for expenses. Okay? So that leaves me how much? $500. Okay? Now typically it's going to be higher for expenses in the ratio. So think about this, right? If a property, remember cap rate, right? Cap rate is the net operating income. The 500 would equal, that would be your net operating income, right? Net operating income, okay, would be $500. If I take $500 and I multiply it by, let's do $500 times 12, which is how much? 6,000. Okay, that's everybody with me? Okay, so $1,000 a month. 50-50 expenses versus net income. $500 is going to be my monthly expenses. That leaves me $500. Okay? Can you prioritize the KPI as importance? I think that okay. So when are you using KPI? Tell me. Yeah, coverage ratio. Tell me when you're using it. I'll do coverage ratio. Tell me what you think it is. George, you remember what coverage ratio is, right? Okay, so coverage ratio, right, happens after all this. After all this, right? Because coverage ratio, what's the main variable in coverage ratio? Who can tell me? What's the main thing that affects your coverage ratio? Okay, let's go back to that in a sec, George. I promise. Yeah, your mortgage. You're absolutely right. The cost of your mortgage is what it is. That's going to affect your coverage ratio, George. Absolutely. So this is where interest rates and the amount you're borrowing and stuff affects your coverage ratio, because coverage ratio is net operating income, right, minus your cost of carrying the property, right? Because they don't care about the gross income. They want the net operating income for coverage ratio. Well, that's if your GRM is 8 and your coverage ratio is 0.8, and this is where I don't want to. I don't want to go too deep, okay? But George, if you're showing me something that says GRM is 8, coverage ratio is 8, I probably want to look at the expenses and wonder if the expenses are in line. I wouldn't jump into that necessarily, George, but that might be an opportunity at the same time, because I look at that and I think, well, the problem with it is that the expenses are higher than they should be. You know, that's why the coverage ratio is only a 0.8. That's what would look like to me. Okay. Give me 1 sec, George. I just want to finish this, and I promise I'll come back to this. Okay. Now, can anybody tell me if I have 6,000 at the end of the year, and my property is 100K? Okay. This is the money question here. So if the property is 100K, and my net operating income is 6K, what is my cap rate? What is my cap rate? Who could tell me? What's my cap rate? At $100,000, not 16, not 16 money. Six. Yeah. So this divided by this gives us 6. 6 cap rate. Well, sorry. Yeah, that's 6. Yeah, same thing. Same difference. 6 cap rate. Okay. We're making $6,000 net operating income from 100K. That gives us a cap rate of 6. Now you see, even with this setup, we're only getting a 6 cap rate. Even with this setup, we're getting a 6 cap rate. This is why GRM is a great indicator, okay? But it's a quick calculator, okay? It's not something we want to use as, you know, oh, let's get this property because the GRM is good, okay? It's 6. It's 6. So 6,000 divided by 100,000, the cap rate's going to be 6, okay? We good? Okay. Let me read this question by George. Okay? If you have a retired landlord that is willing to sell you because his children are not interested in continuing the management of this real estate property, if you believe the price asking is too high based on the Excel sheet, how do you convince him to reduce the price because his price comparable is only based on properties around the neighborhood? That's an excellent question, George. And this we don't have time to do it today because I want to show that property. That's exactly what you're dealing with, because they're going to use their comparables, right? And the interesting thing is, George, if their comparables are running at a 3 cap rate, that's what they're going to look for. That's the prices are going to be in that range. And I'll talk about that next week, if not that following week, just because we have Adnan and Tark with us. That's an excellent question, George. Are you working on a property right now like that, George? Okay, so George, you have a couple good. Send them to me. Send them to me. Send me the numbers, and we'll start a communication. That's excellent. Good for you. Good for you. Let's get things going. Okay. You did. You sent it to me when? Did you send it to me? Could you upload the video from last weekend and today? Yeah, I can. I'm looking at a property right now. Do this, send it to me again. Send it to me again. Ladies and gentlemen, so let me remind everybody this, okay? This is important. So if you don't hear from me within 24 to 48 hours, within 24 to 48 hours from an email or something, you can call me. You all have my number, okay? I'm not going to put it on the call because this is going to be posted. But you can text me or call me. It's okay. And we'll always be on the Tuesday call, okay? So if something slips through the cracks, I apologize. And you can send it to me. I'm okay with you guys reaching out to me. Text me, call me. I'm okay with it, okay? I want to make sure that if you're working on something, we jump on it right away, okay? Is everybody good on that? So reach out to me, okay, if you need to. It's not a problem. Yeah, it's not a problem at all. You know, we have to move on these properties. Okay, so same as the sheet really for if you're renting, no, because it's a rent to own. The renter is paying all expenses, right? Yeah, that wouldn't be a rent to own. That's not rent to own. But you can use that as an indicator for what kind of deal we're getting. But a rent to own, no, that wouldn't be the same thing. No, we wouldn't have to use that kind of aggressiveness when we're doing rent to own. Actually, rent to own, you can get closer to the actual price. Okay. A question, we have spotted a city. Oh yeah, okay, good. Thanks for bringing that back up. Okay, so this is a great question. Okay, and this will be the last question because I want to run up this Excel sheet for this property because I want everyone to see it. Okay, so if somebody's telling you that an area is not good, what do we always ask? What's the right response to that? Yeah, exactly. Why? So if they're telling us, and this is the big thing, really comes down to this. When someone says that an area is bad, typically it means either it's a depressed area, high vacancy, and in Canada we don't see much of it, but a war zone. Okay, so in this case, Stacy, the big problem that people have is when they go into these areas, they look like they're deals, and they can be deals, but you can't jump into the deal and pretend like the vacancy rate's 5% when the vacancy rate's 15%. Okay, so did they tell you why the property or why they felt like it wasn't a good area? They tell you that? No. Okay, well, ask the question. Absolutely, and we'll go from there. The vacancy rate. So if the vacancy rate's 10, I would go to 15. If the vacancy rate was 7, I'd go to 10. So if it's minimum always 5. So usually that's one of the big problems they talk about areas is the vacancy rate. You can still run the numbers though, right? We could still run the numbers. Just run the numbers with the right expenses, which includes vacancy, maintenance, and property management. Those are the things we have to make sure we cover because the other ones we can get evidence of. The other information is kind of spotty. Vacancy you can jump on, but maintenance we can't pretend that properties don't. Okay, there's the property. The first thing you see is your chat box that I need to see you. So I'll make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so you see no name of the property. Not important really. The metrics are what are important. Okay. So is that big enough for everybody? You can see that. Okay. We good? Can someone give me a yes that we're good? Okay. Excuse me. So we have a property that's $119,000 with 1 unit. Income that they've established is $18,120. Appears to be coming from the rent. That's a little bit of an odd number, but it's the sound is lagging. Are we good? It's 2 units. Okay. That's what it is. It's all right. Really good. Okay, so 2 units, $755 on average. Probably one's maybe a little more than the other. Okay. Then we have expenses. We have over here the expenses. Taxes and insurance are going to be part of those expenses, obviously. Is there any other expenses that were attached to this, Maria? As far as you know, okay. Are they paying their own bills? Their own utilities, do you know? As far as insurance are not always written on MLS sheets. So we do have insurance here. $1,000 insurance. We have taxes. That's all possible depending on the area you're in. We have to make sure, Marina, that the property doesn't have any additional expenses here because this is all empty. So I'm assuming they're paying for their own bills, right? Just ask for them. You just simply ask for them. Those questions. Right? Who's paying for the electricity in the place? Who's paying for the water? Hydro. All those questions have to be asked. So we ask they're paying their own bills. Because if they're not paying their own bills, we're paying for them. And I see no expenses here. Well, we can check on that, Marina. That's not a problem. You reach out to them and ask them, just say, is there any additional expenses? Who's paying for it? Okay. I got a TD website to do a simulation. Is that good? For bills, do you mean? Is that what you mean, Rodney? My voice is breaking up. Can you guys hear me okay? Is that better? Okay. 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 So going back, we need to verify the expenses. So I would like, if in this situation, you just ask them, is there any additional expenses? Who's paying for the bills? Okay, is it the tenant or you? Okay, and obviously we would in due diligence we'd verify any of that information. Okay, now we go down here. Vacancy is 5. We have maintenance is 5. Good. We have management, and they haven't provided any of those numbers for you, so I'm assuming. When you ask for it, you can ask for it, Marina. You can ask for the maintenance or any property management. Maybe they manage it themselves. But renewals and looking at leases will give us a better idea of vacancy. They can in there 5, 5, and 10, so that's good. Okay. And see, look, net operating income. Sorry, total operating expenses are 7,700. Net operating income is 10. Split here. Do you see the split? Remember we were talking about this? Yeah, it'll automatically do that for you, actually, for maintenance. I was asking about the maintenance, so watch what happens. So if I put in maintenance $1,000, it actually, makes the change for you. In that case, it was 1,000 was 500. So 500, it'll make up the difference for you. 5%. 100, it'll make up the difference. See that? See how it makes up the difference for you? 100. It'll just make up the difference for you. Well, it'll give me the full 5%. Okay, good. All right, do you remember this? Operating income, 10,000. Total net operating expense, 52,000. So net operating income is actually expenses minus the gross income. It's telling us we're going to have $10,000 left over. This is looking pretty good, okay? So we get to keep 57% of the gross income. Remember we're talking 50-50? This is over 50, so this is already looking good, okay, as it's currently sitting, okay? Does everybody understand why? Net operating, we're keeping more of the money. Pay our expenses, we're keeping more than half. It's a good sign, okay? But it might also alert us that maybe they're not counting all the expenses, but we'll find out, okay? So far, so good. Financing, we're going 80-20. We're at 5 and 7. That can move or change, right? Stay with the standard, but when we come over here, we see the coverage ratio is 20, which is excellent, right? That's right on the spot. We see the GRM is 6.2. Remember, 6 or lower, but 6.62, and I told you 8 was fine. We could work with 8. 6 is good. This is good, even though it's red. 6.7, not terrible. That's something we can definitely. Per unit, 59,000. I don't want you to worry about that, okay? Coverage ratio is on that. 1.2 is the coverage ratio. Now, when we look here and we see that the value of the property to us is 104, do you remember what the price was? That's not a huge drop. See that? That's not a huge drop. For us to negotiate, that's not a huge drop. So that's about $15,000 that we're asking to drop. In negotiation, we can do that, okay? And there's other opportunities that we can establish through that, okay? So when we come over here and we see that if we get this in the range of 104, 160, everything comes in beautifully, okay? Don't worry about the cost per unit. It doesn't really apply to 2 and 4 unit buildings. We're talking about much higher, okay? So average unit take us $150 after we pay all our expenses. The GRM is right under that 6. The cap rate would be 10. As long as we get the price in that range. Okay? Everybody, we good? So Marina, this property looks good the way it sits right now. It looks pretty good. Okay, we're still going to want to negotiate, but it still looks pretty good. Okay, so when we come down here, okay, This is set to 70, 80, but we can go as high as 85, 95. It's fine, okay? This is a good first place to start for, okay? You know, it can be 88 to be 98, okay? So, and I understand we can go as high as 104 represents really the maximum offer price that we can purchase for, okay? And this is to keep you safe, to know that you can profit from the property. So see that we would come in with a first offer. We're going to offer $88,536. With the VTB, we'll go as high as $98,952. So if you'll provide financing for us, we'll give you $10 more. This here you see 74% and 83% list price. 83% of the price at this level, 74 at this level. Okay. We're asking. That's going to represent the down payment, 20% for the property. We got 5 and 6. This will be something that we'll get into deeper later on this deal. Right now, this is what I'd like you to do. Does anybody have any questions about the property? Any questions about the property? Because I'm going to give next steps to Marina. Good. Okay, so Marina, this is what I want you to do. Okay, we want to sure the expenses all in here, okay? Ask them who's paying the bills on the property. Any additional expenses on this, right? Want to know. Right, income and expense statement, income and expense statement. So email them and say, do you have an income and expense statement for the last, would be excellent. Income and expense statement for the last 2 years should give us that information, but ask the question specifically, who's paying the bills. Okay. After you've done that, we're gonna put in an offer. Okay, we're gonna put in intent to offer, which is to say to this person, look, we're interested in your property. If this is what we're willing to give you, if you're good with this, let's set up an offer to purchase contract and we'll sign it. Okay, but Marina, we're not signing anything until we review it, right? No signing of documents until we review it, right? Legal assistance to make sure we're in the right position. With that, okay, good. All right. Any questions about this property? This looks like a great property right now. This is any questions? Nope. Okay. Anybody else? Any questions? We're good. We'll go back. Okay, so we're going to wrap up for tonight. Okay, it was a great session. We learned, we talked about cap rate quite a bit, but it was worth it. We showed that property, which is excellent. Any questions before we wrap up? Oh, no worries. My pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah, good. This was a good session. Okay, so tonight I'm gonna probably tonight, sometime tomorrow, you'll get an email saying that this video and the last week's video have been uploaded. Okay, and you can watch them again, and we can come back and review it at another time. Next week we're gonna definitely have Adnan with us. Hopefully Tark will be with us too. They'll be talking about finance and contracts, so it'll be a great session for everybody. Okay? And any questions before we wrap up? Are we good? If you're good, type in the letter yes or Y. Good. Excellent. All right. I want everybody to have a good night. Keep hunting. Reach out if you need help. And like I said, if you need to reach me, it's urgent, or I haven't got back to you in 24 to 48 hours. Roddy, just keep looking for properties. Keep running the sheet. Okay, keep running the numbers. Okay, at this point, that's really what I want you to do as a practice. Okay, a couple properties a day would be excellent. Okay, keep at it, and we'll find that property. Okay. You have any nightmare about the numbers? Okay. All right. So Rodney, why don't you send me an email? Let me know what's up. we have to go through it together, set up a call, I'll do that with you. Okay, my friend? Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to wrap up the call. I want to thank everybody for coming. This video, like I said, will be posted shortly after sometime this evening, and should be available to us tomorrow. Keep hunting, keep looking, and reach out to me, like I said, if you need additional help. And again, if you don't get to me, weekends and evenings, weekends and holidays, those are for me and my family. So if you don't hear, if you email me on a Friday, and you don't hear back from me Tuesday or Monday or Tuesday, that's fine. It's 2 days basically from there. Typically, it'll be the Monday or Tuesday. If it's longer than that, reach out to me. You have my cell phone number. You can text